As Shedeur Sanders fan and a Cleveland Browns fan, I'm very much intrigued by the anyone but Shedeur narrative. I'm intrigued who the media is deeming could come in and just automatically start for the Cleveland Browns. Somebody like Ty Simpson, who for half of the year really didn't look like a first round quarterback, and then the other half he kind of looked like a first round quarterback. So, what are we really getting with Ty Simpson? Like, are we getting the guy in the first half of the year for the Alabama Crimson Tide, or are we getting somebody who looked like a shell of himself later in the season? Mind you, in games that really mattered for Alabama. I'm just saying, is that the guy you want when it's crunch time? Who's gonna fold under pressure? I don't know. I'm not wasting a first round pick on Ty Simpson. That's just me. But let's keep going down the line. Anyone but Shedeur. The only person that could be justified, penciled in as QB1 outside of Shedeur Sanders for the Cleveland Browns, in my opinion, is Deshaun Watson, solely based on his contract. Not on his play, because in 19 games with the Cleveland Browns, he ain't really looked like he's supposed to. He's not lived up to that contract. So that's the only quarterback, in my opinion, outside of Shedeur Sanders, that I would pencil in as QB1. If the Cleveland Browns want to go that way, they're like, hey, we want to see this contract through. I think the most hardened Shedeur Sanders fan will be like, you know what? It is a contract, and I mean, the Browns' hands are kind of tied, and that kind of buys into a lot of Shedeur Sanders fans not really wanting Shedeur in Cleveland and wanting him out of Cleveland. And I understand that sentiment. If, the Cleveland Browns are bound to that contract and they're like, hey, this guy, we're going to see this contract out. Yeah, I can see the reason why, Shedeur fans would want him to go somewhere else. But I still implore against that, because I still believe the Cleveland Browns is the best possible situation for him to play games last season, and we saw that to be very true. Seeing that Dylan Gabriel didn't look like an NFL quarterback at all. Joe Flacco, under Kevin Stefanski's system, struggled mightily, but we know Joe Flacco, Uncle Joe, can still go out there and ball, because we saw it in Cincinnati. It was just a system in place with Kevin Stefanski that was just terrible. And his C- grade, which was the worst overall by the NFL report cards. I mean, we all know Kevin Stefanski's not really a good coach. And on top of that, he didn't really rock with Shedeur Sanders. But let's keep going through these quarterbacks. Anyone but Shedeur. Yeah, Deshaun Watson, I don't really have an issue if he's the QB1 over Shedeur based on what I said, based on the contract. Now let's get into, quarterbacks like Anthony Richardson and Malik Willis. Those are the four quarterbacks I had on the graphic for this video. So those are the four quarterbacks I really want to specify and hit home on. Let's start with Malik Willis. Now, Malik Willis, he's an interesting case. If the Cleveland Browns were not tied down to the big contract with Deshaun Watson. Now, if they weren't tied down to that contract with Deshaun Watson, then yeah, Malik Willis would make sense for a team like Cleveland that's still searching for that solidified QB1. Not to have any shade towards Shedeur Sanders, but given the circumstance Shedeur had with Kevin Stefanski, his numbers didn't reflect him being solidified as QB1. I think that's a fair assessment. All we want, I'm now talking as a Cleveland Browns fan first and a Shedeur fan second, all we want is Shedeur to be given an opportunity to showcase that he can be the QB1. I don't think anybody is like, hey, Shedeur should be penciled in, not penciled in, but in pen, labeled as a QB1. We understand what it is. We understand the situation. We understand competition is very healthy. We just want the competition to be fair, which it wasn't under Kevin Stefanski in training camp last year. It was not fair. You placed a quarterback that's not more talented, and nobody graded above Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel. Like, literally, the Cleveland Browns was the only organization that had Dylan Gabriel at a higher grade than Shedeur. No other organization had Dylan Gabriel with a third round grade, which is just phenomenal that the Cleveland Browns would reach for Dylan Gabriel. But that's part of the reason. And Andrew Berry said it in many press conferences after Kevin Spencer was let go. Pretty much that was a swing and a miss as well. And the owner has come out and said that Deshaun Watson is a swing and a miss. So it's a very interesting dynamic when you tie into the anyone but Shedeur narrative inside of the Cleveland Browns organization, because they've told you, hey, Deshaun Watson, it's a swing and a miss. But you hear from like media, you hear from all these national pundits and Cleveland media like, oh yeah, Deshaun Watson. People are circling the wagon back on Deshaun Watson, even though Jimmy Haslam has come out and said, hey, nah, we just won't get missed there. But yeah, swinging back to Malik Willis, because I got a little sidetrack here. Malik Willis, in a different situation, he would be a very viable option to come in here and be the QB1. But given the circumstance that the Cleveland Browns have with the cap, with them paying Deshaun Watson so much money, it's not a viable option. And plus, I'm not giving a quarterback that's unproven $30 to $35 million. Are you crazy? He has less starts than Shedeur Sanders. And when he was a rookie, Malik Willis, he didn't even throw for 150 yards in any of his 3 starts. Shedeur threw for over 150 in all of his starts, but one, I believe, for the Cleveland Browns. I think the last game of the year, he threw for 111. Didn't have his best showing. That was not really a good game from Shedeur, but he did lead them on a game-winning drive to kick that field goal at the end. So that's what matters. They got the W, ultimately. Malik Willis, not really feasible from a financial standpoint. And lastly, the one that intrigues me the most is Anthony Richardson. Now, although I don't think Anthony Richardson can hit the broadside of a barn if he tried, his accuracy has been terrible in the NFL. I believe his accuracy is under 50% in all of his starts in the NFL. So, I mean, how much more development do you need to do? I mean, he's entering his 4th year in the NFL, I believe. I think he was drafted in 2022, if I believe. So he's in his 4th year, and there's a big, I think, 5th-year option looming. That's kind of what the Browns did with Kenny Pickett last year. They took on the 4th year, but they didn't really want to get into that 5th year and extend him. So, that could be something similar that the Cleveland Browns do with Anthony Richardson. Like, hey, we'll give him a peep. We'll give him an opportunity. And for me, I think this is the route they should take, if I'm being honest, because I think there's upside with Anthony Richardson, and this is not, anyone but Shedeur. I get the gist of anyone but Shedeur, but Andrew Berry did say that there is going to be some internal and external searches for quarterbacks. So that leads me to believe that they are going to bring in another quarterback, whether that be Anthony Richardson or whether that be somebody in the draft like Ty Simpson. I hope not. Or somebody like Carson Beck in the middle round, somebody like Drew Aller in the middle rounds, which I'm not opposed to either. I would probably much rather go the route of Drew Aller or Carson Beck in the 3rd or 4th round. I think the value you can get from them, and from a competition standpoint, it's good for Shedeur, because I don't think those guys will come in and have a leg up on Shedeur. So I kind of like that selfishly for Shedeur Sanders. But if Anthony Richardson came in as well, I mean, Anthony Richardson is uber talented, but I think Shedeur beats out Anthony Richardson. So from a selfish standpoint, as a Shedeur fan and a Cleveland Browns fan, I want to see Shedeur be the QB1, because I think he can be the QB1 for this team. And for Shedeur's best chances to be QB1, I think him going up against Anthony Richardson Sr., I think that'll be favorable for Shedeur. I don't think Deshaun Watson has much left in the tank. Plus, he's broken down mentally and physically, so I don't really think too much of Deshaun Watson, even though people are high on Deshaun Watson for I don't know what reason. I don't know why you would be high on Deshaun based on what you've seen from him in the Cleveland Browns jersey. I don't know why people are, trying to circle the wagon back on Deshaun. But I understand it because there is an anyone but Shedeur narrative out there. So when you dig into that narrative, of course you have to side with Deshaun Watson, even though he's kind of decrepit at this point in his career. He's had two Achilles injuries, two ACL injuries, and he has a bum throwing shoulder. So mobility is going to be an issue with Deshaun, and mentally is going to be an issue with Deshaun. Can he overcome all that? And what a lot of people are really missing a ball on is that the Achilles injury is a 2-year injury. So Deshaun ruptured his Achilles in the 2024 season. Then in the rehab, him not having his boot on, he ruptured it. So you have a twice torn Achilles, and it's a 2-year injury. So at the start of 2025 is when he ruptured it again. We're in 2026. When the season starts, it's going to be, to that 1.5 year mark, 1.75 years. So kind of on the edge of, being actually himself again. But yeah, I don't think Deshaun, if he's ever going to be Deshaun Watson DW4, it ain't going to be until the 2027 season. And I don't think Deshaun Watson has that kind of time. I think he'd be... if the Cleveland Browns are punting on Deshaun Watson, him just being on the roster and him not being the QB1, I don't really think he has a home in the NFL past the season. That's just my opinion, based on all the off the field stuff and based on his play and based on him, kind of being a distraction. I just find it odd that a lot of people in the Cleveland media, they try to label Shedeur Sanders as being a distraction, Jason Lloyd, Anthony Lima, when you have a quarterback on the roster who has all of this off the field stuff that's actually a distraction, like a real distraction. That's a real distraction. Nothing Shedeur Sanders does in his social media space is anywhere near to the level of Deshaun Watson being a creep and having 30 women alleged that he did what he did in the masseuse rooms and massage therapists. I don't know what happened, but I'm just saying 30 women, probably some variation of the truth is that he's a creep at the end of the day. I think we all could come to that conclusion. But yeah, doubling back to Anthony Richardson, I got kind of on a tangent about Deshaun. Yeah, Anthony Richardson, yeah, I'm intrigued by that because he can throw the ball a country mile. He can't hit anything when he throws the ball a country mile, but he has raw talent. So that's, if you can mold that, if anybody can mold that, it'd be Todd Monken. And I think that would be a safe decision by Cleveland, having a room of Shedeur, Deshaun, Anthony Richardson. That'd be very intriguing to me. Or a room of Shedeur, Deshaun, and somebody like a Carson Beck or Drew Aller. People are like, hey, what about Dillon Gabriel? I think Dillon Gabriel's days as a Cleveland Brown are over. I think at some point when you're able to trade when the season pops up or during the draft, I believe that there will be a trade made for Dillon Gabriel for like a 6th or 7th round pick for the Cleveland Browns. Or maybe if you get a 5th round pick, because they did just expend a 5th round pick to get, I think, Titus Howard, the offensive tackle from the Houston Texans. So Andrew Berry, I've noticed with Andrew Berry, when he gives away a draft pick, he usually likes to recoup it by trading an asset away. Well, not really an asset with Dillon Gabriel. He's more like a liability, but y'all know what I mean. Y'all get the gist of what I'm saying. But yeah. So anyone but Shedeur. I focus on 4 quarterbacks. Got Deshaun, Ty Simpson, Malik Willis, Anthony Richardson. Hey, bring on the competition was what I say. If it's Deshaun Watson and it's Anthony Richardson, let's get it. If it's Ty Simpson, I hope not. I don't think Ty Simpson should just be just gifted the QB1 position because that's what Todd Monken said. Todd Monken said it's going to be some competition. So I don't get where these people in Cleveland media, national media, like, oh, if he comes in, he's going to be penciled out as in the guy right away. I'm like, nah, that's no. No, he got to come in, dig it out the mud just like everybody else because that's what Todd Monken said. Okay, we're not about to just give somebody the keys to the castle without them proving themselves in training camp. We not this not Kevin Stefanski anymore. This is Todd Monken ship. So I'm just saying. And Malik Willis, it's probably the least likely to happen out of the three that are external between Ty Simpson, Malik Willis, and Anthony Richardson. I think Malik Willis is probably not going to happen. Ty Simpson, I placed that at like maybe like a 25% chance of happening with Cleveland with that second first round pick. Even though they have a lot of glaring holes. And Anthony Richardson, I would probably place Anthony Richardson probably in the 40 to 45% range of that happening. And then Drew Aller, Carson Beck, I would probably, that's probably more 50, 55%. I can see that likely happening if they trade Dylan Gabriel away. So that's 81 but Shedeur. I guess it would be part two. It's a little bit more of a twist. Not super negative, but just giving my analysis on the situation. Just thoughtful analysis. I'm not disparaging any of those guys. I'm just add my opinion, add a context to it, but there is anyone but Shedeur narrative out there, and I expounded on that. And hey, if I entertained you and you made it this far in the video and you have not subscribed, subscribe to your boy, like this video, share it to a different platform. I appreciate y'all. I'm at 432 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 500, so help your boy out with a sub. All right, I'm rolling out. Peace.